Prince Caspian was, of course, a more controversial film than Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, as far as, among fans at least. We kind of knew from the beginning that it was not as cinematic of a book as Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but I think most people had kind of accepted from the beginning, yeah, they're going to have to make some changes, although people kind of differed about how they should make the changes and which ones were okay to make. There were just a lot of issues where you kind of had to be on one side or the other, and that's why it was good that I did videos on this movie in particular, because there were so many controversial things, so much to talk about. A lot more changes from the book than Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But deep down, as a fan, I really wanted them to nail Reepicheep. That was one of the things that was just really important. Even though he has such a fairly small role in the book, just a couple scenes, I really wanted to get him right. He plays a huge role in Voyage of the Dawn Treader. He's really the heart of that story, and it's arguably the most beloved character in the entire series. He's certainly the most quotable, I would say. And in video number 3, the issues, I was just kind of talking about some of the concerns about Prince Caspian I had, and that everyone was talking about. And the last one I said was Reepicheep. They gotta get Reepicheep right. They gotta get Reepicheep right. And I'm proud to say that I think they just about nailed him. I don't think I could be much happier with how they did him in the movie. Just absolutely. I was talking to Narnia recently, and he said he thought Reepicheep was the best part of the movie. And I'm not sure. I disagree with that. I think he was absolutely phenomenal. It's just not exactly how I imagined him in the book, but the heart of what I love about Reepicheep is certainly there, absolutely. So I think it's worth dedicating an entire video to that. The challenging thing, and I said this in one of the videos about Reepicheep, I can't remember which one it was, the hard thing about Reep is balance. You can't make him too funny or too cute. He's amusing only because he's a mouse. Any other character, if they talked about honor and chivalry and sacrifice and all the things that Reep is always talking about, it wouldn't necessarily be funny. You just whatever. But because but all of a sudden have those same words coming from a mouse, now it's funny. He just, like, Lewis writes him as an ordinary, like a brave knight, but he's a mouse, and that's what makes it so funny. So the humor of the character really comes from the fact that he can't help but be amusing. He can't help but be cute. He wishes he wasn't, but he's a mouse. He just can't help it. And so it's really hard not to root for Reepicheep because he's such a little guy, and yeah, he has a bit of an ego, and he even talks down to Giant Wimpleweather in the book a little bit. But he's a hard character to not root for. I thought Eddie Izzard was fantastic. Originally I said I was so excited when he was first cast. Then I started doubting him a little bit. Then I wasn't so sure after hearing some lines from the movie. And I'm sorry I ever doubted him because he was just I can't imagine any other voice coming from the CG Reepicheep. He just has that great. Reepicheep was such a quotable character, and I remember saying when he was first cast, they're like, "Oh, I can see him doing a good job with some of those lines," and he just has that whole accent. Choose your last words carefully, Telmarine, and he just has that tone, and it's just so Reepicheep-ish. It's just so everything Reep is about is in that voice. So Eddie Izzard, can't imagine anyone else playing Reepicheep. Let me just say right now, get this issue out of the way. I kind of made this a bigger issue than it had to be, but when I was on the set in Prague, I saw a very realistic-looking stuffed animal that appeared to be Reepicheep, only he was completely white. He had a little bit of brown on the back, but he was completely lab rat white, which shocked me because I love the black with the gold, circle and everything in the book and the Pauline Baynes illustration, and love that. And I was like, they can't make him white. It's one thing to make him a lighter color, but white, So I was freaking out, and I'm glad to say that it wasn't that bad. What they ended up with in the movie was much darker than what I saw on set. I freaked out because very often they have those stuffed animals for CG creatures to use for stand-ins, and I was overall quite happy with the design of Reepicheep in the movie. I was very happy with the animation. Was superb. Now I don't like the idea of Reepicheep crawling on all fours, but I will say that technically it was very well done. That they really had the sense of weight, crawling around, and the animation was extremely well done, I thought, on all the mice. And I love the look of Reepicheep's face. I thought they did a pretty good job on the lip sync. And so animation-wise, just very happy with Reepicheep. Reepicheep, I've said this before, he's probably the most quotable character in the Chronicles. There's so many, just like go to narniaweb.com, scroll down a little bit, on the left-hand side you'll see character profiles, and which I helped write some of them. And then click Reepicheep, and there's so many great quotes from the book that we've got in there. And now in the movie, they didn't use very many direct quotes from the book, but they do have some very memorable quotes in the movie, and they're very Reepicheep-ish. My favorite one is probably when Lucy says, "Oh, you're so cute," or he's so cute, and he goes, "Who said that?" And he draws his sword. That's so kind of taken from Voyage of the Dawn Treader when it talks about how Lucy wanted to sort of cuddle Reepicheep, but she knew that would offend him. That's what I always thought of. And it's like, who said that? And once again, Reepicheep wishes he wasn't cute, but he just can't help it. He's a mouse. And they had a good balance of making Reepicheep cute, but not so cute that he couldn't be a threat. He was a cute, but also when he's, hitting Telmarines, you could still believe that he was a threat and kind of take him seriously as an action hero. And so once again, they just got that balance just right. Another line I like, I don't really like Reepicheep saying "shut up," but I do like the idea of Pattertwig and Reepicheep kind of. I can see Reepicheep kind of being annoyed by Pattertwig. They're very different characters, and so when innocent Pattertwig is like, "We could collect nuts," and Reepicheep's like, "Oh, and throw them at the Telmarines." Shut up. That just seems like I can just see them kind of, being at each other's throats a little bit. I can see them really being very different characters, and Reepicheep being annoyed, and of course, Reep says, I think you know where I stand on this, Saya. And when they're talking about the night raid, which makes sense because, in the book, Reepicheep actually suggests, why don't we raid the castle tonight? And so it makes sense that he would support the idea. The line that he gives, and right before he kills the Telmarine at the battle. Now, I didn't like Reepicheep's armor in the battle, by the way. And I was actually okay with Mr. Beaver wearing armor, but somehow Reepicheep, I just didn't like the look of it. Just because I like the shoulder strap thing he has so much. But the Telmarine says, "You are a mouse," again. And Reepicheep says, "Oh, you people have no imaginations!" And that was, the first time I saw it, that just seemed like a really stand up and clap line for C.S. Lewis fans. Because it really seemed like it was about, because the Telmarine people don't have imagination. They don't believe in fairy tales. They don't believe in any of that. Like, this world, this is all, this boring existence, this is all that there is. There's nothing else. And Lewis felt very strongly that fairy tales were not just for kids. And the opening, the dedication line, "The Witch in the Wardrobe," where he says, someday you'll be old enough to start reading fairy tales again. And so it seems that just seemed like a great line that in the spirit of C.S. Lewis, that you people have no imaginations. It just seemed like, yeah, you go, Reepicheep, you tell him. I loved all the mice, especially during the night raid. I think that's probably my favorite part of the night raid, was when the mice were sneaking through and using their size to their advantage. And I loved when they tie up the cat. That just seemed like a thing that C.S. Lewis would have liked. I know that when Lewis was little, he made up stories about a mouse who would go off and slay cats, and that's kind of the first thing I thought of when I saw that. But it's cool because, Reep pulls out his sword and you think, oh my gosh, are they going to kill the cat? And then, they kind of they kind of leave you hanging, like, are they seriously going to, like, stab the cat? And then it makes all the funnier when you see, oh, they just tied it up, and then the Telmarine soldier discovers it. It's so funny. It's the kind of humor that I think C.S. Lewis would have liked. It seems pretty consistent with the books, and so I love that scene. I'm only sorry that the line from the book, probably my favorite Reepicheep line, "My life is ever at your command, but my honor is my own," line from the book, is not in the movie. Very disappointed. And of course they cut that whole scene out of the movie, and probably needed to be cut for a lot of reasons, but I'm hoping maybe for an extended version or for Don Cheadle they'll find a way to get that line in, because that's what the heart of the character is about. Overall, Reepicheep, even the most negative reviews have good things to say about Reepicheep. Whether you've read the book or not, people, I haven't talked to a single person who didn't like Reepicheep. He is such a great character in the movie, whether you read the book or not. He's so faithful to what the character is about. It's so, I can truly, even though he's not exactly how I imagine Reep in the book as far as design, I can truly look at him and feel like Reepicheep has come to life. He was in my imagination, but now he's real and I'm watching him, and that's the magic of adaptation. And so I could not be happier with Reepicheep. And if you're a fan of Narnia, whatever other changes you don't like about the movie, hey, you gotta be happy. They nailed one of the most memorable characters in the entire series.